Hello, hello everyone. This is Kristen with Intentionally Nourishing. Happy Friday. I am taking it easy today. I'm coming off of a cleaning product make and take last night where we made 5 of our own homemade products really fast, really easy, really safe. That's what I love. So I'm going to share those with you next week. Today I want to finish off our shopping by talking about things you often see at the bulk bins of your grocery store: grains, nuts, seeds, and beans. While they're all really different, they all have, different nutritional properties and we use them in different things. They all have one thing in common, which you may have tried or you may have seen, which is called soaking. And a lot of people are avoiding, especially grains and beans these days, if they're doing the paleo diet or the Whole30, GAPS diet, some of those things we avoid. The reason is because most of our food that is based on those kind of categories, is not properly produced. And so grains, seeds, nuts, and beans need to be soaked for, somewhere around 12 to 24 hours to remove some things that are coating them, which is nature's protection. And so what those things are enzyme inhibitors, some anti-nutrients, some acids, and some of those things can be toxic to the system and really difficult to digest. And the reason why seeds have this coating is because, a lot of seeds stay dormant for a long time. We keep them in packets. They may stay in, they may be on the ground for a while because in order for a plant to start off life really well, it needs water. So water is what removes this coating on these seeds to allow this plant to grow and to say, hey, this is a safe time for you to grow. You have a good chance of making it into adulthood. And so a lot of our food that's produced has not been soaked. This is a traditional practice. This is not new information. Ancient societies knew that they needed to soak their grains and nuts and things like that, because not only does it remove these things that make it really difficult to digest, but it actually starts the sprouting process, which that's another category of just letting them soak long enough to sprout, which has tons of nutrients. So, just depending on what you're using the recipe for, you can soak them basically just to get, a lot of those, again, anti-nutrients and enzyme inhibitors off, or you can sprout them to use on salads and things like that. Soaking is really easy. If you purchase things that are already soaked and sprouted, you could be paying $30 a pound for something, which is really expensive. But soaking them at home, so easy. All you do is, if I was making the baked oatmeal that I'm sharing with you today, I would measure out my oats, I would cover them with water, and then I would add an acidic ingredient that's going to help remove that coating off of the grain. So I either add apple cider vinegar, just a couple tablespoons, or you can add lemon juice or the whey from yogurt, so the liquid part of the yogurt. If I'm doing nuts or seeds, I typically add sea salt, so good quality sea salt. And with beans, you can add like seaweed or salt to help break down that coating on beans and make them more digestible. The anti-nutrients that are coating these grains, they are actually mineral blockers, so they bind to the minerals so you can absorb them. And a lot of Americans are really deficient in minerals. And then also the enzyme inhibitors actually block your enzymes from digesting and breaking them down. So a lot of people complain like, I feel bloated after I ate grains, I don't like eating grains, or beans, I feel gassy. And it's because they're not properly prepared. And so when you prepare them well, they're much easier to digest. The 95% of an American's diet is processed food, which is a lot of grains just really cheaply made and poorly made. And when it comes to purchasing these things, organic versus non-organic, your best bet is always organic. And for a couple of reasons. When it comes to grains, I've personally grown up around like the wheat industry and a lot of those grains, and they are sprayed from day one with the most toxic of chemicals, Roundup included. A lot of these crops are GM crops, corn, soy, wheat. So they've been genetically modified so that they can just be sprayed and doused with this stuff. And people that are spraying this are wearing hazmat suits. It's no joke, people. And then once they harvest this grain, it sits in an elevator or in a huge grain pile for long periods of time, maybe on a barge. So it is sprayed with tons of insecticides to ward off insects and rodents from eating this grain that's just sitting in a pile. So grains especially, you want to find organic grains. Nuts, because nuts have high fat content, same thing what we talked about with animals, is that they can absorb a lot of pesticides and be stored in there. So you just want to be careful with the nuts. Some places to find organic nuts that are more reasonable. If you have a natural grocers, the price point's not that different. You could check nuts.com, Amazon, Azure Standard, again, delivers even to the small cities, in Oregon and some of these different places. Their price points aren't that different. So, I think that that's a win. You just want to buy in bulk, like most things. And beans too, we strive to buy organic, and you can typically find organic beans in a lot of the bulk sections at grocery stores and things like that. So that one's not as hard to come by and definitely really economical. I hope that that's helpful. Good. Again, it's a really healthful practice that doesn't have to be too time consuming. And then the one thing with nuts is most people you can eat your nuts wet after they've been soaked, but if you want to dry them out and then store like big quantities, like I do a whole bunch at one time, then you could use, if you have a food dehydrator, you can just put them in there for like on 110 degrees for 24 hours, or you can spread them on baking sheets and do it in your oven on the lowest possible setting. If you can't get below 200, then maybe crack the door a little bit and then just plan not to use your oven for a day. I know it sounds time consuming, but I bet you would feel a whole lot better if you tried some of these techniques, especially with oats and things like that are going to be wet when you cook them anyways. Give it a try. So I hope you love this recipe, this oat recipe. It's our family favorite and it's really forgiving. So, we throw in hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. I throw in blueberries. If you don't want to use eggs, I make gelatin eggs, 1 tablespoon of gelatin or flaxseed per 3 tablespoons of water. Super forgiving, and you can just make double the batch and then, freeze what's left, freeze a couple containers, and then just pull it out as needed. So happy Friday. Hope you enjoy, and be ready for next week for some really cheap, awesome, safe cleaning products. Thanks. Bye-bye.